Originally known as TW4, Styx scored 16 top 40 hits. This is their 13th entry, and the first on our countdown, Don't Let It In.
Don't let it end, baby, we could have so much more.
The second single released by The Fix was One Thing Leads to Another, going all the way to number 4 and spending 13 weeks in the top 40.
I don't let you do what they say what you mean, one thing leads to another.
Spandau Ballet was formed in London in 1979. They scored 3 top 40 entries during their career. This was their very first single, True, which went all the way to number 1 on the adult contemporary chart for 1 week. PM Dawn also sampled this song for their hit, Set Adrift on Memory Bliss. On the pop charts, it went to number 4 and stayed on the charts for 13 weeks.
Why do I find it hard to write the next line? Oh, I want the truth to be said.
The third song on our countdown by Minute Work is Overkill, a number 3 single that stayed on the charts for 13 weeks.
Day after day, reappear. Night after night, my heartbeat shows the fear.
The rock trio, The Police, were formed in England in 1977. They scored 9 top 40 entries. This is their second on our countdown, King of Pain, charting at number 3 and staying on the charts for 13 weeks.
I stood here before, inside the pouring rain, with the world turning circles, running round my bed.
George O'Dowd, also known as Boy George, was born in 1961. His band, Culture Club, scored 10 top 40 hits. This is their second entry, Time, Clock of the Heart, going to number 2 for 2 weeks, staying on the charts for 13 weeks.
Time won't give me time, and time makes lovers feel like they got something real.
Adam Ant was born in 1954 in London. He formed the band Adam and the Ants in 1976. He scored 3 top 40 hits. This was his first entry, the number 12, Goody Two Shoes.
Goody, goody, two shoes, goody, two, goody, two, goody, goody, two shoes. Don't drink, don't smoke, what do you do? Don't drink, don't smoke.
Sheena Easton won the 1981 New Artist Grammy Award. She scored 14 top 40 hits. Here is her 7th entry, Telephone. Stevie Nicks teamed up with Lindsey Buckingham in 1973 and called themselves Buckingham Nicks. They joined Fleetwood Mac in 1975. She scored 11 top 40 solo entries. This is her 5th single, Stand Back. Pat Benatar scored 4 top 10 hits during her career. One of her biggest songs was the number 5 hit, Love is a Battlefield, which is actually our first gold single on our countdown.
We are young, heartache to heartache we stand. No promises, no demands.
The heavy metal band Quiet Riot was formed in Los Angeles. They scored 2 top 40 hits. This is their first single, Come On Feel the Noise, a number 5 single that also went gold. Chrissie Hynde was born in 1951. She helped form the Pretenders in 1978. They scored 6 top 40 hits. This is their second single to penetrate the top 40, Back on the Chain Gang, a number 5 single that stayed on the charts for 14 weeks.
Put us back on the train. Back on the chain gang.
The most popular release by the Stray Cats was Stray Cats Strut, a number 3 single that stayed on the charts for 14 weeks.
Stray cat strut, I'm a feeling Casanova. Hey!
Don Henley was born in Gilmer, Texas in 1947. He scored 10 top 40 solo entries. His first solo single was Dirty Laundry, a gold-selling single that featured Joel Walsh and Steve Lukather of Toto. The first single released from the Thriller album was The Girl Is Mine, which featured Paul McCartney. The song went to number 1 on both the Adult Contemporary chart and the R&B chart. Greg Kihn was born in Baltimore in 1952. His band, the Greg Kihn Band, charted 3 times. The first one was the breakup song They Don't Ride 'Em from 1981. This is his second single, Jeopardy, which went all the way to number 2. In 1983, David Bowie scores his second number 1 single. His first one came in 1975 with Fame. This one, Let's Dance, stayed at number 1 for 1 week and stayed on the charts for 14 weeks.
If you say run, I'll run with you.
Written in 1929 by Irving Berlin, Puttin' on the Ritz went all the way to number 4 in 1983 for Taco. It was a gold-selling single that stayed on the charts for 14 weeks.
Dressed up like $1 million trooper, trying hard to look like Gary Cooper.
Kevin Rowland was born in 1953 in England. He was the leader of Dexy's Midnight Runners. They scored only 1 hit, and it went all the way to number 1. Come On Eileen, staying on the charts for 14 weeks.
Come on, Eileen. Oh, I swear, at this moment, you mean everything.
Peabe, Bryson, and Roberta Flack teamed up for the 1983 hit Tonight I Celebrate My Love, charting at number 16.
Tonight, I celebrate my love for you. And that midnight sun.
Golden Earring was formed in Holland in 1967. They charted twice in the top 40. The first one came in 1974 with Radar Love. In 1983, they released the top 10 hit, Twilight Zone. The Clash was formed in London in 1976. They scored 2 top 40 hits. The first one came in 1980 with Train in Vain, Stand By Me. At the end of 1982, they released Rock the Casbah, which went all the way to number 8. The 17th single released by Daryl Hall and John Oates was One on One, going all the way to number 7 and staying on the charts for 15 weeks. Originally recorded by Bob Seger, We've Got Tonight went all the way to number 6 for Kenny Rogers and Sheena Easton and stayed on the charts for 15 weeks. It was a number 1 country hit as well. The first song released by Prince in 1983 was Little Red Corvette, going all the way to number 6 and staying on the charts for 15 weeks. Thomas Dolby was born in 1958 in Egypt. He scored only 1 top 40 hit, and it was the number 5, She Blinded Me with Science. Marvin Gaye's last solo hit was Sexual Healing, which went all the way to number 3, stayed on the charts for 15 weeks. It went to number 1 for 10 weeks on the R&B chart. Say It Isn't So was Hall & Oates' 19th top 40 hit, going all the way to number 2 for 4 weeks and staying on the charts for 15 weeks. Eddy Grant was born in 1948. He moved to London in 1960 and then to Barbados in 1982, where he recorded his only 2 top 40 hits, 1984's Romancing the Stone and the platinum-selling single Electric Avenue.
We're gonna rock on to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
Billy Joel scored 3 top 40 hits in 1983. The first one on our countdown is the #1 adult contemporary hit and pop hit, Tell Her About It.
Tell her about it. Tell her everything you feel. Give her every reason to accept that you're for real.
The second song by Billy Joel on our countdown is Allentown, going to number 17 but staying on the charts for 16 weeks. The second song by Phil Collins on our countdown is You Can't Hurry Love, going to number 10.
You can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. She said love don't come easy, but it's a game of give and take.
The highest charting single on the Frontiers album was Separate Ways, Worlds Apart by Journey, going all the way to number 8.
Someday love will find you. Break those chains that bind you.
Lionel Richie's You Are went to number 1 on the adult contemporary chart for 6 weeks. On the pop charts, it went to number 4, staying on the charts for 16 weeks.
You are the sun, you are the rain, and makes my life this foolish game.
Sergio Mendes was born in 1941 in Brazil. He scored 5 top 40 hits. In 1983, he brought us Never Gonna Let You Go, which went all the way to number 4 and stayed on the charts for 16 weeks.
I'm never gonna let you go. I'm gonna hold you in my arms forever. Gonna try and make up for the times I hurt you so.
Billy Joel's Uptown Girl stayed on the charts for 16 weeks, going all the way to number 3 and was a gold-selling single.
And when she knows what she wants from her time, and when she wakes up and makes up her mind.
Men Without Hats scored 2 top 40 hits. Pop Goes the World from 1988 and The Safety Dance from 1983, going all the way to number 3.
We can dance, we can dance, everything's out of control. We can dance, they're doing it from pole to pole.
The second single on our countdown from Styx is Mr. Roboto, a gold-selling single that went to number 3, staying on the chart for 16 weeks.
I am the modern man who hides behind a mask.
The first single released by Duran Duran was Hungry Like the Wolf. It was a gold-selling single. It went all the way to number 3.
In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Smell like a sound, I'm lost in a crowd, and I'm hungry like the wolf.
The second single by Michael Sembello on our countdown is Maniac from the Flashdance soundtrack. It went all the way to number 1 for 2 weeks, staying on the charts for 16 weeks.
She's a maniac, maniac on the floor, and she's dancing like she's never danced before.
In 1983, Toto scored the biggest hit of their career, Africa, going all the way to number 1 for 1 week, going gold and staying on the charts for 16 weeks.
It's gonna take a lot to drag me away from you. There's nothing that 100 men or more could ever do.
The second song by Donna Summer on our countdown is She Works Hard for the Money, a number 3 hit that stayed on the chart for 17 weeks. The song went to number 1 for 3 weeks on the R&B chart. Written by Jim Steinman, Air Supply's Making Love Out of Nothing at All went to number 2 for 3 weeks, staying on the charts for 17 weeks, and went gold in the process. The Eurythmics' first single, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, went all the way to number 1 for 1 week, stayed on the charts for 17 weeks, and went gold.
Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree?
Michael Jackson's Billie Jean went to number 1 for 7 weeks, stayed on the charts for 17 weeks, and was a platinum-selling single. It went to number 1 on the R&B chart for 9 weeks as well. Lionel Richie's 5th top 40 single was All Night Long, All Night, going all the way to number 1 for 4 weeks. It went to number 1 on the R&B chart for 7 weeks and was also a number 1 adult contemporary hit for 4 weeks. The 4th song by Culture Club on our countdown is Do You Really Wanna Hurt Me, going all the way to number 2 for 3 weeks and staying on the charts for 18 weeks.
Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry?
Working our way into the top 10 longest living singles of 1983, Gaynor Hopkins was born in 1953 in Wales. Her distinctive raspy voice was caused by an operation to remove throat nodules in 1976. She went on to score 3 significant singles, including It's a Heartache from 1978 and Holding Out for a Hero from the Footloose soundtrack. In 1983, she released the biggest song of her career, Total Eclipse of the Heart, going to number 1 for 4 weeks and staying on the charts for 18 weeks, going gold in the process.
Every now and then I fall apart. Every now and then I fall apart. And I need you now tonight.
2 of the biggest superstars of all time, Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, teamed up for the 1983 hit Say, Say, Say. The song was a platinum-selling single, going to number 1 for 6 weeks, staying on the charts for 18 weeks.
What can I do, girl, to get through to you? I guess I love you, baby.
2 country superstars teamed up for 1983's Islands in the Stream, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. The song went to number 1 for 2 weeks and was written by the Bee Gees.
Islands in the stream, that is what we are. No one in between. How can we be wrong?
Michael Jackson's Beat It featured Eddie Van Halen on guitar. The song went to number 1 for 3 weeks, stayed on the charts for 18 weeks, and was a platinum-selling single. It also went to number 1 on the R&B chart. Patti Austin was born in 1948 in New York City. She scored only 1 top 40 hit, and it was with James Ingram, Baby Come to Me, going to number 1 for 2 weeks.
Baby, come to me. Let me put my arms around you. This was meant to be.
The 3rd single by Bob Seger on our countdown is Shame on the Moon, a number 2 single that stayed on the charts for 19 weeks. It also went to number 1 on the adult contemporary chart for 2 weeks. Glenn Frey was featured as the background vocalist.
Blame it on midnight. Shame on the moon.
The biggest song by Men at Work was Down Under, going to number 1 for 4 weeks, staying on the charts for 19 weeks, and went gold in the process.
Do you come from a land down under? Women go and men plunder.
The 2nd song by Irene Cara and the 2nd song from the Flashdance soundtrack is Flashdance, What a Feeling, going to number 1 for 6 weeks, staying on the charts for 20 weeks, going gold in the process.
What a feeling, feels believing.
The Police's Every Breath You Take was the number 1 song of 1983, going to number 1 for 8 weeks, spending 20 weeks in the charts, and going gold in the process.
Every move you make, every vow you break, every smile you fake, every claim you stick, I'll be watching you.
In 1982, we saw songs by Bertie Higgins, Quarter Flash, Laura Branigan, and John Cougar outlive most of the number 1 songs of the year. In 1983, Crystal Gayle and Eddie Rabbitt's Just You and I outlived every number 1 song, staying on the charts for 21 weeks.
That smile that was on
And there you have it, the top 223 songs of 1983. Starting with the songs that lived the shortest amount of time in the top 40 and going all the way to the song that spent the most amount of time in the top 40. My name is Brandon. Thank you for listening.